Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tawny, and in today's video, I wanted to compare and contrast two very popular sunscreens that I have actually reviewed individually on this channel before, but I wanted to compare and contrast them to each other because I love them both. And those are the Unseen Sunscreen from Supergoop and the Elta MD UV Clear Sunscreen. This is the tinted version. If you enjoy this video, then please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below so you see more content like this. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So in this video, I'm going to compare these two sunscreens in 6 different categories, and those are application, so how it feels when you are applying it to the skin, white cast, sensitivity, wear, meaning how it wears over time and what it looks like at the end of the day, how it affects acne, and then lastly, cost. And the reason why I am comparing these two sunscreens together, even though they're not the same brand, they don't pretend to be the same type of sunscreen, they're not dupes of one another, but I like to compare these two because these are both, I feel, sunscreens for the person who hates wearing sunscreen, especially more oily, acne-prone skin types or people who hate that tackiness or any kind of white cast. I think that both of these products kind of target that consumer. So let's start off with the first category, which is application. So how it feels on the skin when we are actually applying these sunscreens. And I do want to mention that I am wearing both of these sunscreens. The Elta MD I am wearing on the left half of my face, and then the Unseen Sunscreen I'm wearing on the right half of my face. But I am wearing makeup on the bottom half of my face. My forehead is completely bare from sunscreen. I did wash my forehead this morning and I put on a light layer of moisturizer, but I have no product on here, so I am going to apply each of these to one half of my forehead so that you can see what it looks like right after application. But also you can probably tell that on my actual skin there's really not much difference. Let me bring the light in closer so you can really see. There is very little perceivable difference in what my skin looks like or what these sunscreens look like underneath applying makeup on top. And I just do a little bit of powder foundation, but that's really it. So now let's start off with the Elta MD, actually applying it to the skin. And once again, this is the tinted version. So I am going to just squeeze a little bit, and you can see from the pump, it is in fact a tinted sunscreen. It's a little bit of a light tan color. It's definitely not a full range of colors, which is one of the drawbacks, I think, but it's still a nice little amount of tinting that I think does really well to cover some of the white cast or streaking that can happen with sunscreens. So I'm gonna try to apply this really carefully to just this little bit of my face and this half of my forehead so that I don't go over the makeup that I've already applied. And I'll pull in the light a little bit closer for you guys, but you can probably tell it is very invisible. Like, I can't see any streaking. I know I'm not in front of the mirror right now, so I can't get a super good look at it, but just from looking in the viewfinder, it goes on really easily. And I know this to be the case when I apply this every morning pretty much, that it goes on really nicely. The formulation is very lightweight and it spreads around super easily. It doesn't pill up, and if you have other products underneath this, like let's say benzoyl peroxide gel, which is something that I use because I do have oily, acne prone skin, this does not pill up and doesn't make it feel kind of gunky or like there are too many layers on the skin, which I really love. Now moving on to the Unseen Sunscreen, I'm gonna do the same and just put a little bit on the tip of my finger. And as you can see with this is actually a silicone gel based sunscreen, which is really unique for sunscreens. It's completely clear, so as you guys can probably guess, there's gonna be absolutely no white cast with this. And this feels like a makeup primer. If you've ever used makeup primers, I don't typically use makeup primers, but it has this really smooth, silky finish to it. I have a little bit of extra product on my finger, so I'm going to rub it in my hand because this is a very small area. But once you rub it all in, it feels very like powdery soft afterward, and completely no white cast. So zooming in a little bit, you may or may not be able to tell, but what I found is with the Unseen sunscreen, it's a little bit more mattifying right after I apply the product, and then the Elta MD is just a little bit more dewy and hydrating when applying the product, which can be good or bad depending on what you have on your face beforehand. If you use a very drying product right before applying this and you go right into the sunscreen, then I think the Elta MD might be a little bit better and more hydrating for the skin. But if you do use another moisturizer underneath your sunscreens, then I think the Unseen sunscreen would provide enough hydration or barrier on top of that. But both of them, to me, really have no white cast. That little bit of tinting in the Elta MD is really great for preventing any kind of streakiness or white cast. So they both rank really, really highly there. So next up, I want to talk about sensitivity. Now, both of these sunscreens have chemical UV filters in them. The Unseen sunscreen has only chemical UV filters, whereas the Elta MD has zinc oxide, but also has octinoxate in it. I know chemical sunscreens can be sensitizing to a lot of people, so I would say that the Unseen sunscreen might not be the best if you have super sensitive skin, but the Elta MD actually has niacinamide in it, which I actually think is really great for oil control, but I know that sometimes that can be sensitizing to some people as well. As far as both of these goes for me, and if I feel any sensitivity when using them, I'll say if I have an open blemish, something maybe that I've picked at or irritated, then the Elta MD can sting that a little bit upon application, but that doesn't happen too often. That's only if I have broken skin on my face. And then the Unseen sunscreen, when I apply it on top of broken skin, I feel absolutely no sensitivity, but I will say that I have experienced a little bit of sensitivity with this product, specifically around my eye area if I were actually going out and swimming and in the sun, maybe a little bit windswept for a few hours. That's the only time that I've noticed a little bit of sensitivity with the Unseen sunscreen. But both of these, I would say they're kind of a draw when it comes to sensitivity for me personally. But yes, just be aware that the Unseen sunscreen does have more chemical filters and avobenzone, which I know is a little bit more notorious for being sensitizing. On the other hand, however, they are both fragrance free, which is great. I know fragrance can often be sensitizing too, so at least you don't have to worry about that with either of these. All right, now let's talk about how these wear on the skin throughout the day. So if you remember in the beginning of the video, I said that the Elta MD actually looks a bit more hydrating on the skin right after applying, whereas the Unseen sunscreen looks a little bit more mattifying right after application. But they kind of do a little swap throughout the day. I think it's the niacinamide in the Elta MD that actually helps to control oil production on my skin, I've noticed when I use this. So after a full day of wearing it, my skin is significantly less oily than it is with anything else that I put on my skin by the time the end of the day comes. Whereas the Unseen sunscreen, my skin does get the typical amount of oily throughout the day, and at the end of the day there doesn't seem to be much oil control in this product itself, which brings me to my next point on acne and how these products are with acne prone skin. And something that I didn't realize when I first purchased the Unseen sunscreen is that it does actually have oil in it, which I know is not the best for acne prone skin. So this is one reason why I've actually stopped using this as much as the Elta MD, because acne prevention is one of my top concerns for my skin because I am still acne prone. So for that reason, I have stopped using this on a daily basis, but I still have it in my cabinet if I do want something that is super invisible and has that nice smooth texture on the skin. The Elta MD does not have any oil in the formulation, which is great, and that niacinamide has been shown to be really beneficial for a lot of oily skin skin type or acne prone skin types. All right, and the last point that I'm going to compare these two on is the cost. So Elta MD is a bit pricier than the Unseen Sunscreen. This is about $30 to $32, I want to say, for the Unseen Sunscreen for 1.7 fluid ounces. This Elta MD Tinted is also 1.7 fluid ounces, so even though they look a little bit different, you're actually getting the same amount of product. But the Elta MD, I want to say, is around $39, so it is a bit pricier. But you are getting a little bit of a higher SPF when you are going for the Elta MD. This is 46 SPF, whereas the Unseen Sunscreen is only 40. Now, the Unseen Sunscreen does say that it's sweat and water resistant, whereas the Elta MD does not. But just in general, Elta MD seems to be really highly recommended by dermatologists and estheticians. I think it just has a little bit more of a sophisticated ingredient profile than the Unseen Sunscreen. I don't really see many dermatologists recommending the Unseen Sunscreen, whereas Elta MD is everywhere, in dermatologist offices, in med spas, on YouTube. It really is known as being one of the best higher end sunscreen brands in the dermatology world. And for all of those reasons, even though I love both of these, I do end up going for the Elta MD Tinted Sunscreen. You also have that added tinting to it with the iron oxides that helps protect against blue light, so you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck there. But overall, if you are struggling to use sunscreens and the Unseen Sunscreen is the only kind of sunscreen that actually gets you to wear sunscreen daily, then definitely go for the Unseen Sunscreen. It is a great sunscreen. I personally prefer the Elta MD Tinted, but both of them I think are wonderful choices. And I'll link both of them down below in case you are actually interested in trying them out. But that's all I have for you guys in this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know which of these are your favorites, or if you have another favorite sunscreen for sensitive or oily or acne prone skin. I would love to hear in the comments. But once again, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.